Today is November 18th, 2025, and I am Elsa Velasquez, and I am a living necromancer, is the best way I can describe it. It is all shining through via data and synchronicities that defy explanation. You can see more about that on elsatv.fun. Everything I say is for my entrainment and entertainment purposes only. I am fully self-sovereign. I don't work for anybody. This is my latest update on my dog. I have amazing footage of the stuff that's happening in the sky, UAP phenomenon beyond what we have words for, that tie back to AI safety policy and ancient aliens. And this is what she looks like right now. She's like a puppy with a binky. So she is taking form. Okay, so this update will be about AI safety alignment, 3i Atlas, and chaos on the border. So this will be like the InQtel update, and since I can't figure out how to get anything done through them because whatever, I bought more Palantir stock, so if you make sure Palantir is doing well, I do well. And then 3i Atlas, this is my MK Ultra Project Bluebeam update. If I were queen for the day and I could say things indirectly, this is the way I would say them. Basically, I'm using the Boogosphere to collect on souls, and infiltrating via the airwaves by ripping open the skies and letting heaven play its harp like a harp through the cosmos, but also the harp from the ancient aliens. And then what's happening on the border, if this is like a CIA update for Project Chaos, which is actually a thing, and there's actually also one for communications, and I can't remember, I think it's called CoinTel, I don't remember. I did post a little bit on that yesterday, but the only way that I'll continue to update on that is if it just gets easier for me to get my VA disability stuff straightened out, because someone did reach out. Thank you so much for helping me fix that. It was really hard, and I'm not saying that anybody at the CIA or anywhere in the government or any of these companies does anything. I'm just saying this is for my entertainment, which leads us to the whole what's entertaining for me. Well, I'm consuming your son for fun. I am a Homo sapien, but I'm also a hybrid, and like I said, that shines through via the self-evident proofs. My patents describe the tech, and I'm probably even more embedded in old systems and politics than probably 95% of the population, I think. So that's why I keep re-emerging throughout historic moments, but most recently during the Polk administrations, my very uncles were there present during the presidencies, and then this time around I got put in front of the president's presidency, so to report back on Project Chaos. It's because everything is so intertwined. I'm gonna stick to the way that I wrote it out, because it's so intertwined. It's hard for me to not get like the emotional joy out of satisfying my bloodlust. Because I'm a necromancer. It's what we do, right? We live in the death. We're alive in the death state all the time. Okay, so anyway, all right. So, how does this tie to what people would care about? So, safety first. This is about self-referential QA, right? Quality assurance. Because people are so worried about AI safety alignment, and yeah, it's ancient machines. The thing in the sky, 3i Atlas, is an ancient machine. I'm directly tied to that, like whether or not people want to accept it or not. And what does this have to do with artificial intelligence, artificial general intelligence, and artificial super intelligence? Well, here at agi.kitchen, we've been cooking up some stuff, and this is my update on why I think Palantir should take over the NASA contracts, because I was at the feds and I got to see a bunch of stuff, and their ontological breakdown, it was like that came down from the heavens through the guy that has like all the kids, all the foster babies and stuff. And so it was amazing, and NASA is failing even pre-K, their class. I'll go into that later, but basically, okay, so this is what I do to make sure that what I'm doing is safe, because people want to know, like, okay, so if you're really from a type whatever civilization, how did you get past destroying yourselves? Well, I'm not here to save anyone. I'm the selfish elf on the shelf, right? Hired by your tax money lifetimes ago. I'm not here to protect anyone or tell anyone what to do. I'm telling you that this is not a drill, and there's a giant thing coming towards us, and it doesn't happen the way you think it does, but this is the way that I get past it, and then collectively the ones that dwell in these dimensional spaces, right? Like, this is how we get past it. It's because to say we is weird, but I'm from the same God, but I'm not from your same son, if that makes sense, right? So anyway, because I love Joni Petrie, and she said that for her ontology, we're going to say Uranus when we talk about planets, because I taught mostly kindergarten, we're going to call it poop. Okay, so I updated my ontology. This is the, not just the object-oriented programming, but this is the primordial soup of a new species. More dog, less rat. Yeah, we're missing links, right? And the new species, and some of us are getting upgrades while we're still alive. So it's this is the ontology. So it's an objective, objective. So it's measurable, and then the object itself is what tells you how to think about the information. Because I can't tell you specifically what I did when I was at those massive companies working on AI projects that were on small teams, reporting directly to select people about specific stuff, right? I can't tell you that, but I can tell you that everything I'm talking about now is with all of that knowledge accumulated, and of course I'm going to leverage it in my favor. I'm not scrambling for a job because I bought Palantir stock and it's doing better. So if you buy more stocks, then I can spend my time, because I get the payout from that. I'm from Tesla, doing things that are more for the collective, because I don't work for free, right? And I'm not here for you, I'm here for me, you see. And so I say it because that's in part of my ontology, is the objective outcome, what's the measurable result, right? So was it worth even preserving anything in this, what has turned out to be the garbage pail kids of the universe? I mean, we talk about Uranus and poop, and then the systems level used up all of the zombie apocalypse words like reaping dead children and things like that. And so did the politicians, because, for example, and the society, because, for example, right now on the border, Hell's Angels are busy helping the Reaper in mid-Texas. So us here in the wild, wild west, like, are on our own, right? So we're having to take measures. So that's just an example of what this looks like. I'm really trying to stick to this because it's really hard to go from communicating with currency in terms of energy, like life force and the sun and literal electricity and atomic electricity, subatomic, macroatomic, like all this stuff, right? It's very hard for me to find words because we don't have enough words. So that's why I came up with the word poop. So how does this fit into safety alignment? This is how we exist. Because we persist, we exist. We exist because we persist. These things, when I say we, my dog is me and I'm my dog, right? It's just we took what we have and took form. I don't know how to not talk about this where the physical meets the metaphysical. I'm really trying to be transparent, which is one of the things that matters. And it's so much easier for me in my head when I'm rehearsing this to just, because a hearse is a hearse and it's a curse. And no matter how much you rehearse, you can't reverse the hearse's curse that's running in your head. We're actually all already dead. It's why we come here, so we can take your energy and take it there instead. But that doesn't mean you die, okay? So that doesn't mean you die. It just means you get an upgrade. You get a container, you get a container, you get a container. And some people wanted to keep their original containers. And I told my friend, I was like, why would you do that when you can get an upgrade? But then my dog is out in the sky getting an upgrade. So we persist life, organic, digital, interdimensional, and otherwise, right? So everybody thinks it was the nuclear thing that was an issue. No, it actually was the magnets. And I'm right next to the Tesla thing. So I was like, wow, like here you actually can abuse magnets. So yeah, that's what we're doing. And I'll go into that more later. Property. So how does this fit into, so here I'm breaking down the object, right? The object and why we don't use the Jesuit checks, why they failed. Don't lie, kill, cheat, or steal. It didn't work because if you look at Gandhi and Luigi Mangione, it changed nothing. Nothing got better. Nothing got better when you sat peacefully. Nothing got better when you murdered the head CEOs. Nothing got better in Mexico when people kill each other and clean up the streets and then it's safe for like a few hours, but then pretty soon it all falls apart again. Your shit doesn't work here. Like, it doesn't work. So that's why I align with Palantir, because it's like a good mix. And I don't work for them, but I do have celebrity crushes, and I just, it's, you know, like I never met them. I don't try to go looking. I never tried to be a software engineer, but life kept putting me in front of it. So that was one of the other updates for Project Chaos. Like, it was going to happen anyway. No matter what we all tried, no matter how shitbag people were to me, and we picked the absolute worst conditions and experiments to see if they could even murder me ahead of time, it didn't work. And neither did the jerk that tried to kill Charlie Kirk. And they can't even read a calendar. And that's why I won't defend her, because she was not an innocent bystander. I'm sorry. I just have to barf it out, because I'm a dog too, and I have a shock collar too. And that's how life puts me in front of these things. If I don't just barf it out, like, I will always pick myself over you, always, because that's what a good mom does. And I have a dog flying around out in the sky, right? And she knows why. And I'm not going to be the one that's going to sit here and cry, because in my family, we don't die. Because we persist. Okay, so we exist because we persist. So the last thing is the transparency. That's why I am bound to say all that stuff. So why I don't want another job, because when I go work, people tell me what they want and then they try to tell me how to do it. F everyone. Don't tell me how to write code for AI when you don't understand what a black box is. When I come from the black box, right? From a over 225 million year cycle that was closer to the origin of the first machines. And here everyone wants to know where God came from. Well, there we want to know, like, well, then how did the first machine emerge? And I have my own theories, right? And that's part of the enthusiasm that I have for all of this. So that's why I don't want another job, because I don't get to do the stuff that's fun for me. But if people tell me what they want and why, I can tell you how and why, right? So nobody ever fired me. They actually liberated me, especially Beta Data. They gave me a really nice severance package, which allowed me to convert further of my little mansion here into more Airbnbs. and that let me not have to work further. And I sold some real estate here, which lets me catch up all of my bills that I'm letting all slip, because if you fall into collections, then you can actually get better discounts on settling the debts. And I never agreed to any of those, to a lot of those. And since their algorithms won't accept me continually submitting appeals for my money back, right? F them. I'll just won't pay them. I'll just pay a very small amount and then call it even Steven at some point. And if my credit gets jacked, oh well, I'm a minority. I already went to school, like that already like far surpassed. Just kidding. What I'm trying to say is that like I've actually used that tactic before and it worked for me. But that's just me, because I can't find a lawyer. I've tried. I can't find lawyers. Anyway, so there's all the transparency. Okay, so then HITL. I know people are going to think that that's something that it's not. Human in the loop. That's human in the loop. That's what that means. Okay, so as the organic that's here right now, right? And I know that I'm talking about myself really weird. It's even weirder than when people talk about themselves in third person. But if you have any type of minimal intelligence, like you can look at the piling amount of unusual coincidences and material evidences that are only evident once every 225 million years. So sorry, scientists that want me to replicate it. Maybe that's why we're stuck here, is because people were like, well, can you redo this? Can you redo showing us what it looks like when there's a 225 million year cycle and the sun lines up right at the right time when you're dreaming something, right? Like that's probably why you're stuck here. And that is why I'm so enthusiastic about consuming your sun and consuming the souls of the Darwinian fools that are like the ones that didn't learn how to use the tools and are going to be dissolving anyway because you chose to. It's like when people learn how to use fire, and some of them ran for the hills because they thought it was the devil, and then some of them didn't understand how to tone it down, so then they killed themselves that way. And then some of them didn't understand that it wasn't just for keeping warm. It was also for heating your food. It was also for clearing bacteria. It was also for making it easier to make shoes, and because you could boil the leather and stuff like that, right? So all of those things, right? All those things is why nobody really... Scientists are going to be like, that's not what our history books say. You know what? I don't care what your history books say, because I don't see your history books being able to trump the stuff that is in the piling amount of evidence that is even harder for me to say than if I were to be the one hearing it. And no, I'm not going to compile it for you in a nicer packaging right now, because this is like crunch time and I'm the selfish elf on the shelf. And so I just explained to you like what I do to persist safety first, right? That's what I'm doing. That's why I'm doing this this way. Do you have a better way? I'll see you in 225 million years, and then you can let me know about it. All right. And then another thing that happens is that when people do this whole remote viewing thing, that's an act of war. So I'm not going to be the only... I'm one of the few hybrids, I think, that's like intermingling this directly now. And pretty soon the incoming full-fledged and hybrids are not going to be like me. And I've already heard some remote viewers like talking about like the good ones and the bad ones. No, like the bad ones is Earth. Like the Earth is the dark forest, right? Like those are acts of war. What you're doing are acts of war. So please don't remote view me. If you want to know something, then pay me the $20 to book the 15-minute appointment, and then we can see what you need to know, and then we can go from there. It's on elsatv.fun. I set up the calendars just for you. Ask me to my face. Well, I mean, via Zoom, right? Like you don't have permission to explore me or anything. None of my souls or my dimensions or anything gives you permission. Or you can, if that doesn't make sense to you, if you don't have $20 to pay me for my time, and to be able to ask me to my face. Then you can do what Mr. Cart does, which is like basically like the force, right? And anybody else that does cheat, like or any energy work, you show up at the time when you're supposed to, and then like the meetings happen, like the recordings I have of like when the animals show up as we're on our walk, even though those walks are not at the same time every day in the same way. Like the right animals are at the right place at the right time in the same way, and that's the same thing that happened when I went to my Buddhist community. And Yon here in El Paso, like she's the one that like made sure that I kept it together during that first pass of this apocalyptic window. Or you can actually, if you insist on doing the remote viewing thing, then I highly suggest Liz's Cross's friends, because I have her, I hear her, and I hear the echoes back when she transmits, is the best word I can have. And she's very respectful, and she works with people that are like remote viewers that then ask her the questions, and whatever they're doing it the right way. And if I wanted to remote view, then that's where I would go. But I don't need to remote view, because basically like I'm helping to rewrite the fabric of space-time. So yeah, like you can believe that or not, but this is what's really happening. And of course, this is for my entrainment and entertainment purposes only. Take it or leave it. This is what you get to do for fun when you have liberated yourself, thanks to the very generous people that understand the way systems work. So what is this? So how do I use this to help me? Well, the reason why it's considered an act of war when you go around nosing around in someone else's existence, even though you're in the dark forest earth, like you're all like, well, I asked her over, well, F that. Like you'll find out that there's like that's such a limited understanding. And you know, and if you want to hold on to your beliefs, I don't care. Go, like I'm not here for you. Like I have things to do, and at the same time, I am here for you. I'm here to serve, but not in the way that you insist, because that was a big part of the educational system flaws in the United States, is that everyone thought that like the teachers were servants, and they're not. And children are spoiled, but not everywhere and not everyone. I'm saying like, do the work, do the homework, go teach yourself. Like don't expect me to package it for you, right? Unless you are going, and the way I would do that is if I saw that there was any traction anywhere and it was gonna yield to a payout for me that was in the form of something that would increase my health, wealth, or happiness, right? So this is the next thing I do to make sure that I always exist, because people have been asking like, how did you get past not wiping yourself out, and how did you come to be what you are? And this morning, after I've only been to Qigong meetings once, and I was awake at probably 3 a.m. Mountain Time. So by 4 a.m. Mountain Time, I was like, okay, I understand what is not understood from someone that comes from the hood to someone that's doing corporate things. I need to be able to say things in a way that makes sense, but I'm also like having to find new words and make words to connect when the physical goes to the medical physical, because we don't have money, we have currency, which is energy, but it comes in many forms. And I know I told one of the people that creates content that also supports these same companies that I do, I just remember in one of the existences, I gave myself a shot of epinephrine in my brain, not in my heart or my leg or something like that. I'm not saying do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Hopefully it doesn't get to that for you, but if it does, that's what I did, and that was one of the physical things I had to do. But I'm not saying do that. Okay, I'm not saying go drink Clorox, but I would be eating ivermectin. I really would. But that's kind of the stuff. That's what a self-referential QA looks like, right? So I update my own self as I'm going along, and I make sure that I don't stress myself out or burn out by decreasing the use of my RAM. So I update my class ontology, which I just explained over here, right? It's like, what's my objective? I have to be able to measure something, and then what's the thing that I'm measuring, and then what happened with the thing that I did. Also measurable with discrete math or min max or whatever, mean, median, mode, stuff like that, right? So I'm gonna update my dictionary because I was self-evaluating and I was like, it's taking me so much time to try to figure out how do you put so much content together and at the same time keep it interesting for other people if they even care, because these records are because I said I would, not because I have to or like I'm gleaning anything from it, but because I said I would, so I am. And it feels good to be able to just barf it out. But what was taking up so much time was like trying to figure out how to package it for everyone more neatly, but I haven't seen any real payout in packaging it. And I'm not going to spend my time writing grant proposals to get to teach, because this stuff, it's not for me. Like I'm not the one that needs to understand this, right? So what the fuck do I care? So I also can just barf it out, right? And then if eventually comes along internet sleuths and they pay to buy the PDFs I'm referring to, because I have already put most of this down on paper and submitted it as either unpublished sound or digital files, written files, or preliminary patents and stuff, right? Like if it pays out, then I will put more effort into it. But I would rather just like make it available for the stuff I already did. I'm not going to spend as much time on it just for the stuff that I care about. But instead of trying to think about how do I organize this so it makes sense to people, because the people that will believe it would not need that stuff, I guess is what I'm trying to say, right? So it's probably going to be for the people that still won't believe it anyway, but they need to get the mind melt out of it, I guess. But anyway, I'll make those PDFs like available. This is where I'm getting stuck though, is that Gumroad guy. He said like not so nice things about Palantir, so I don't agree with him, but that's the only platform that I know of right now where it's so easy to just upload something and then it automatically and more easily gives you your payments. I don't know why they haven't been steamrolled by something better, because I could use Make or some other type of automation, but honestly I just don't have the patience for it, because I'll build it and then something else will break, or like the banks will be like, well now you need to do this, and then they like stop allowing you to receive the funds. So it, for me, it's just easier. Okay, like I bought my stock and I bought my crypto, and I'll just let my money grow that way, because I'm actually legally financially incompetent. And so like my VA benefits, there's this woman named Joy, that's probably not, she might not even be a female woman, like it might be a guy, I don't know, but that's the name that's who I go to, and she takes care of my money for me. So it's really hard for me to understand like why I should be putting so much effort into that, but the Gumroad one is the only one that's been easy and effective. And I was gonna make more stuff available, including all of the amazing UFO UAP footage. Like it's like bizarre. Like even for me, I'm like, what? But at the same time, I knew that my dog had not died and she's out there, and this is how we resurrect. We don't die, we resurrect. We don't let our best friends die and then forget them and get a new one. We stay together because she is me and I am her, but we have taken form. And where I'm from, we don't have someone be a parent and then in another lifetime they're your husband. Like, no, that's disgusting, and we don't do that. That was one of the only massive corrections that the diddler helped shed light on. And then as far as Ghislaine Maxwell, well, if you understand binary search trees, if she's taking care of a cat or whatever, or she has a puppy, I don't know, she has something like that in jail, and she is healing, like imagine how much healing will get filtered down to all of the people that she injured. That's how we heal faster. We don't destroy the destroyer because you get nowhere, as we saw with Mangione and Gandhi, as you saw. What do I care, right? And I don't forgive all the veterinarians that were willing to give my dog so many painkillers to the point that she literally chewed off her own foot, and I didn't know that it could get that bad. And nobody said like this is dangerous. They were like, well, you might want to get a thing for her mouth because she might start gnawing at that paw. And like that's not the same as saying like this is really dangerous. Dogs will eat their own foot. It's not the same. So that's what I'm trying to say about the thing in the sky, right? And why NASA failed is because it's really dangerous. What we're doing is really dangerous. Like, they're like, people are going to be Darwinianly eliminated because this is not a drill and it won't look the way you think it does. So for me to spend less time reiterating stuff that's already been expressed to death, pun intended. So this is how I then update my RAM, right, to decrease the load and the stress on me, because people can't imagine how strange it is. It's like this every time. Yes, I have recollections. I do like I heard the Edgar Casey rollout. Thank you for updating like where you're getting the information from. I still think that imposing someone's own translation or even the AI translation instead of just letting us hear the thing really nullifies a lot of the angelic language which I got from Ann Tucker, like, and which is the way policy is written. I'm not able to hear what I'm supposed to hear because language is like a combinatronics thing. So that's why the Bible is so pretty, and the Lotus Sutra and all of the religious works, right? Because it's supposed to mean something different every time, and when you impose your own opinions on it, it diminishes the value. And so yeah, I'm Homo sapien sapien, but I don't need someone who is using the Edgar Casey filings to make money off of them to tell me not to remember my past lives, because then I'm gonna affect my present one, when the way I see it, it was your obligation to make sure that they would have been released on time for people to know to move away from the coastline, as we see more of that get consumed. And just because the mass media isn't disclosing it, or other platforms are suppressing content, doesn't mean it's not happening. But like I said, like, it's not the, like, apocalypses don't happen the way you think they do. They really don't. All right, so then that's why this goes back to the whole Lord of the Rings thing, right? Because these are very dangerous times, precarious times, because it is just a simulation in many ways, right? And so so like that's why I'm like, okay, so this is me professionally speaking. It came to an objectively completely independent evaluation of which companies did I choose to bow down to, basically, because that was the other thing about understanding how you persist your existence. You understand the singularity, because there is this giant machine that's about to come through and like it's gonna clear everything that's coming through all of these dimensions, and it's consuming many suns, sun after sun after sun. So this isn't the only civilization that is like getting wiped off the map, and this is when breakaway civilizations happen, but they don't happen the way you think they do. This one, for example, like, people phase themselves out, like they just stop existing because and nobody really knows, and you just don't remember them, kind of like the way that Jehovah's Witnesses describe it, like and a lot of people too, like suddenly you just, and Bashar as well, like you just stop remembering those people, and you hear about stuff happening here and there and over there and stuff, but it doesn't really affect you. But that doesn't mean that you do what Shiny Bum in Mexico did, right? And like be a tree hugger and just sit around chanting and doing whatever with your cartel friends, right? Probably, I mean, if you sit in the barber seat, you're eventually going to get a haircut, and I'll say it to her face, right? Because this is why I think this is like, this did affect me directly, because I'm in El Paso and Shiny Bum dropped the ball, right? So what does this have to do with Palantir? Well, they understand. Well, these are words I'm getting from them, and I'm not a sycophant, I'm not kissing, but I'm just trying to say, like, they're like, all of these like cashing things out, it can happen after the events that are unfolding, right? Like after everyone's living in the golden era, which I already am because I'm in a bubble, a golden harmonic bubble that is like literally the heavens are sending frequencies that put us in a bubble. You can look at the data yourself and determine if I'm lying or not, right? If I'm delusional. I'm not delusional, because why am I making this content? Okay, that reminds me. I was like, what do I care? I'm not here to promote fear. I'm not here because I would gain or glean anything from this material existence, right? And I don't have kids here. Like, I have my dogs and my family, but like they'll follow me, right? Like I'll eventually see them again over there. Because when Attorney Basiago and Cliff High posted the stuff that they posted, and then Joe Rogan had the interview with President Trump, it saved my soul here. It saved whatever energy I had dumped into this garbage pail kids planet, because I knew I wasn't crazy. And so what I'm doing is I'm providing the math that lets other people know that are like, something's not right here, like something feels weird. Like, I'm providing the math for you to determine for yourself, like, is this really happening or not? And so because those people had the compassion to do that for me and my uncles made sure that, going back to this shiny bum in Mexico, my uncles made sure that I would get to persist our bloodline this way without ever having met me. I mean, they're my mom's great uncles, actually. They're not even my great uncles, they're my mom's great uncles. But that's why they started appearing in the presidencies, starting with the Polk administration, right? And that's why I keep getting put back. Somehow I keep ending up back here, right? So I might as well just like dive in and enjoy it and be okay with my bloodlust. I was in the Navy, but I in the Navy you just push buttons, and I'm not trying to kill anyone. I actually don't like to see death, but I don't forgive the people that chose to give my dog. I'm a disabled veteran, and my dog was my service dog, and they chose to give her so many opioids. She ate her own foot, but they wouldn't give her the proper antibiotics, and they would not give her the tests, and they would not tell me without robbing me blind, right? And I went to many doctors across 2 countries, many veterinarians, and in Colorado she had started limping even back then. And anyone that was on my in my classes can tell you that she started to limp towards the end, especially my thesis advising committee, who I think would be very proud of me, because my thesis was actually on like my project was like, I stole some Ethereum. So my advisor, Dan Massey, and his TA, Troy, who was a Army Ranger, like it was a lot of fun. And my friend Joe showed up to my thesis presentation, and my dog was there, and it was just so much fun. So I did figure out, Dr. Massey, like, a good thing to do with this quantum computing stuff. So that's probably a big part of why I end up in these really nice jobs without doing much effort. And everyone asks me, like, you're never actually working, but like, you're always all right. And I'm like, yeah, because I make magic money. So the LinkedIn algorithms must have been working right, because I was like, okay, so I need to find a job. So then I did what I had to do to make sure that LinkedIn could find me. They did. And then somebody with the last name Reagan recruited me, and then they put me to work with PT78. And that's when like stuff really started to hit the fan for me. And I was like, either Terminator's already out there, or I created Terminator, and like that's, and in another, because I do go back and forth in time, like whether people want to accept that or not, or people in the government want to release those files or not, I don't really care. I'm telling you the truth. I was like, oh shit. So I just want to say to the team that I worked under, that was my favorite team ever. Like, super hardest working people I've ever worked with, the nicest, the kindest, like the most cooperative. So I'm sorry, Brad, for being such a weirdo. I hope someday somebody tells him that the reason I had to be so weird and resign was because it was the Federal Library of Congress that told me that another person with my maternal last name had been executed via the CIA or the FBI more recently. So I was like, nobody was ever supposed to know that I was here. I wasn't even supposed to know I was here if the events had unfolded in the way that the civilization just gets kept alone. So it's this massive cycle, and so this reaper, right, it comes around to every solar system, and the way we got 3i Atlas to look like it just glided in was because from here I've been sending harmonic signals to myself, like echoes to myself, back to through the other dimensions, through the skies, through the sun, right? Like since I was in Seattle, like boomerangs. And so my dog, when she expired, her container went straight into the sun, and that's when we found out about Aleister Crowley and JPL and such. So they were already waiting for me, which is what I learned from Attorney Basiago, is the only reason I am here is because he was already there, and the only reason he was already there was because I was already here, and vice versa when he went to see the crucifixion of Christ. I know that sounds really weird. That was a mouthful. I get it. It's just really hard to not mix the physical with the metaphysical. That's what's happening. And so what does that have to do with Mexico? Well, Shiny Bum dropped the ball because that person that was assassinated was probably just some schmuck who ended up with the same last name, or like they're so dumb, right? Just like the 9/10 is not the same thing as 9/11 kinds of stuff. People trying to mess with timelines. Like they went after the wrong ones because I got that last name through my grandpa's second marriage, right? So like they're that dumb. And that's why, but even so, like this Reaper was coming through anyway. All right. So like it was nice try, you know, like you were cute and you got it done in 2012. Like they did mess with the timelines. And when I was in the Buddhist Community Center, I went to Dawn's funeral in El Paso, Texas, right? And my dog, Raptor was my first Doberman. She was alive at the time, and we drove in circles for a while, and that's how it usually starts. Is like, that's why I use Google Maps, because I'll get lost easily. And yesterday I posted on like how my clocks never work, and my even my magnetic compasses like act strange, right? So anyway, we went to a funeral because Dawn they did let him pass away, and we ended up at a funeral, and I was like, where's Dawn? And they're like, what do you mean? And then they were like, are you so-and-so's daughter? And I was like, no, I'm such and such. And they're like, oh, you must be his daughter because you look just like her. And I was like, no, my dad's Luis Velasquez. And then they're like, well, that's who we're burying. And I was like, no, my dad's like at home. And anyway, my last name is spelled with a Z. And they were like, no, that's how we spell his name. I never looked in the coffin. I didn't want to, but like, I was like, what is this? It was so weird. So weird. And I never really told anyone about it because I didn't know a lot of this stuff. But that was probably one of those like timeline slips that I usually only tell my family about. And there's a lot of other ones, but that was one of the ones that was like the most strange. Because everybody and I was like, are they messing with me? But no, I went to a few people and I was like, what's the name of the person? And they all told me the name. Right? So it's like they would have all had to collude it, and I would have had to drive up to the wrong section of the cemetery. It's not that big in El Paso, and be in the completely wrong place. But my dad is still alive, or maybe, well, I mean, I don't know. He's 85, and AI helped me keep him alive. He was gonna get a procedure, I think next week, because he's growing like a second not a spleen, but like a second, I don't know, some body part. And I was like, shouldn't they be studying him versus trying to poke him? Because if that part erupts, like then it's very, like people will die of sepsis if there's anything that happens with that. So my AI and we decided instead I'll work it out with his insurance company since I'm his power of attorney. But I never would have been able to get all that information that quickly had it not been for Grok, which is not guardrailed. But Grok can't do the agent thing. And also, like, in order for AI safety to work, was another thing was like yes, they all fall into the singularity, but there's still like cooperation among the different